we've all been at this a long time. And speaking of AI projects and community, a lot of projects have a lot of challenges. I mean, I don't need to get into that exact percentage, but it's a high one, depending on your level of experience and what you've done. And to increase that success, we want to look at things like lower cost AI infrastructure, more intelligent tooling, and access to kind of expert communities, and also quite importantly, some mechanism for decentralized trust and governance. So the market right now is flooded with a lot of these different marketplaces, but there's often a gap in consideration in terms of self-governance and other kinds of tooling that will make that a lot easier for people in these communities. So what does ASI Create? ASI Create is essentially a stack of AI DeepIn infrastructure, and it's a front end in terms of what you're seeing for an AI launchpad, but you can build on top of that core node. And if you start at the top, we have self-governance, and you could say, well, what is self-governance? What does that actually look like? And essentially, one approach that we're taking is something called hypertrust that we're in early stages of developing, where we have a privacy-preserving avatar that uses zero-knowledge proofs and takes a lot of infrastructure from self-sovereign digital identity for people who are familiar with it, and actually adds quite a few other things like decentralized trust registries so that you can build holonic trust through not just reputation, but reputation and credibility. The community can create its own set of rules that allow people to increasingly or decreasingly trust each other according to their own self-defined rule set. And that's extremely important because then people can be self-accountable and form self-governance systems. And this does not exist anywhere I've seen in many of these other community approaches. Second of all, we, based on Ben's approach and what he told you about OpenCog Hyperon, we obviously are going to provide services for knowledge and knowledge graphs, and doing that in a distributed fashion is non-trivial. And we have things like Metacycle, which you heard about earlier, which can facilitate some of that as well. AI, in the sense that you'll see in just a minute, where we're actually starting out in a very simple way to make it easy for Web 2 developers to enter the Web 3 domain, because there's a good question yesterday. Somebody said, well, why do we even need any of this Web 3 infrastructure for those that aren't necessarily know or care or educated about the decentralized ethos? And the short answer is there's things you can do in Web 3 that you just can't do in Web 2 very easily, like distributed self-governance using privacy-preserving avatars. Like most of them just eyes glaze over. They're not sure what that even means, right? And so, but that's important because then you don't have any central power that's dictating to you what you need to do, how you need to do it within a given community. But on a more simple level, you can also create templates that integrate into continuous integration, continuous deployment workflows that we all use, but that aren't often designed for AI in terms of things that often tend to be missing. Now, there's a lot of tools that are doing that now, but we're basically looking to leverage a lot of the open source things like GitHub workflows to essentially allow people to version control data and then make comparisons on models, systems, or algorithms before and after they make a pull request. Like simple things that we all have to do, but often when we're tired, it can be very annoying and difficult to do that, all the way up to low code, no code eventually, where you have almost Lego blocks for building certain types of systems, especially for people who are less familiar with cognitive architectures. That's on the developer side. And on the user side, essentially, it gives people a gateway to aggregate these existing LLMs so they can gateway into more neural symbolic computing, because they just won't discover this stuff. Right? When you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And for better or for worse, LLMs have gotten people some yardage, but there's a lot of other different approaches that can be used, a lot of expertise that can be leveraged within the community. And of course, we have compute. I mean, you all have seen we've made over $50 million in terms of recent investment on behalf of the SingularityNET community. Fetch has made a significant capital investment as well. We'll have close to $100 million of compute so that we can offer, some real firepower in terms of generating federated or even distributed opportunities for the community to build upon. So basically, what are we doing? I mean, Ben's gone over a good deal of this, but essentially we're trying to be the leader in enabling communities to build open source, decentralized, AI to AGI to ASI. And you saw how we have several simultaneous work streams to get there, from neural symbolic LLMs. Even before that, just sort of enhanced LLM approaches using things like GraphRag that dovetail nicely into that, into more neural symbolic evolutionary approaches, which Ben has talked about, and again, world models that are used by Predictor and other things to essentially simulate real-world physics so that we can determine outcomes programmatically into full-blown emergent AI agent networks that converge on ASI, right? It's not exactly a parallel thing. There's streams, but it just gives you a sense roughly of like how that would work. And so this kind of aligns with the ASI goals. Like the first goal is to build ASI, right? Which we just talked about. You have those 4 streams that I just talked about. The second one is to show apps that unify the stack, which is what ASI Create is basically all about, where, you know, we're taking fetches, agent verse on some of the properties from their core node and extending them and adding all these different services so you could get access to hosting and compute through Kudos, either in a federated or distributed fashion. We can take advantage of hopefully of things like NewNet, where we can also, you know, get access to distributed compute and offer that through a developer space that you'll see. And then lastly, we're going to want to scale that compute with that capital investment that we made so that we can democratize access so that, you know, people can, for a lower cost, essentially get access to hosting and training compute for their models, right? So what does this stack kind of look like? You've seen before, and what does that mean for product, right? Because we've talked about a lot of ideas here, but it gets confusing in terms of what are these products, what actually are these things. And on the left-hand side, you can see the tech stack that I've just already gone over. And on the right, these are sort of like the products and how they go from really a focus of adoption and later on in terms of revenue. We have the AI Launchpad, which we're calling ASI Create, and the DevX experience that goes along with that will integrate into, you know, modern IDEs that we all use, whether that be JetBrains if you're a little long in the tooth, or, you know, things more like Cursor, where it's like basically VS Code with a bunch of assistants from various LLMs. That effectively gets built on top of an ASI core node. Well, what is that core node? And basically that core node is outlining a lot of the capabilities that allows us to take steps towards Metacycle, which Ben has talked about, where we're just proxying to some of these services initially. So it makes it easy for people to build almost any UI on top of it, to have a community in a box and an AI Launchpad in a box. So if you're on another L1 somewhere, you don't end up just recreating and rebuilding another marketplace. You actually bring those self-governance stack services, the applications and agents, and the AI software frameworks to your particular community so you can own, run, and manage and do that yourself, right? And of course, you can use our services if you want to in like a true open source commercial fashion, but that's kind of the approach that we're taking. So it's like a Linux stack for creating open community. And then effectively, we're going to build a super node that incorporates a lot of the aspects of Metacycle that Ben was talking about, where you can incorporate microservices down to the blockchain level, further distributing the ability to share resources and compute across different nodes that people can offer. And also what isn't mentioned is taking advantage of the commoditization of tokens as well, because there's also going to be, as you see at the bottom, there's energy generation and distribution. There's going to be the similar opportunity that people aren't really talking about much here because it's in very early stages, but in terms of converting Bitcoin miners into compute opportunities and repurposing those processors so that when you have spare energy from sustainable energy like wind farms or other things that people are using in these developing countries, you can convert that literally into money, right? Or crypto, more accurately. And so that's quite interesting because right away, even if you're not able to build, you know, or you're not even an AI developer, you can create financial infrastructure for people by proxy that supports people higher up on the stack, right? And that's a pretty novel and interesting notion. And of course, we get to the point where we have some proto-AGI and some of the metagraphal things that Ben talked about, again, mostly manifesting in a distributed fashion through things like Metacycle, and ultimately AI chips and specific hardware that and ASICs that you're seeing right now, especially vectorized ASICs that make it much cheaper and to farm out a lot of compute and do, you know, inference in a more efficient fashion, which is going to be essential given the demand on energy that we're going to provide. So here I'm just going to show you a short video. I don't know if it's audio is playing.
Build an AI community where you can crowdfund projects with liquid staking, receive grants, and more. Rapidly create and deploy agents with AI templates. Promote your project with spaces that offer affordable hosting, compute, buy, sell, and trade data across AI projects. Access the power of AI instantly for algo trading, biotech, and more with a new way to explore knowledge. For crypto, you can use enhanced LLMs to analyze crypto markets for opportunities, identify new algorithmic strategies to semi-automate trading with notifications. For biomedical domains, explore new ways to identify new biomarkers to accelerate innovation for new drugs. With knowledge graphs and AI, there is a new world of possibilities. Developers can create more accurate models and systems at a lower training cost. Users get more accurate responses with less prompting. Everyone can know where data comes from and who owns it. Developer spaces combine with knowledge graphs to make development easier. You can quickly crowdfund projects with your own space. Developer spaces make it easy to promote your project for crowdfunding. Share in Telegram, Discord, and X.com to attract investors. Upload data to be able to buy, sell, and trade in decentralized markets. Link your GitHub repos and host agents. Pre-train and train agents by renting CPUs and GPUs. Do it all through APIs using Python, LangChain, or Meta, a multi-paradigm language for declarative and functional computations over knowledge graphs. When combined with the Metamoto framework, agents will be able to chain calls to LLMs with advanced knowledge and reasoning. Let's create a new space. Select from AI templates for common agent types: reflex, goal, utility, learning, and custom agents. Use case workflows for crypto algo trading, drug discovery. Make it faster and easier to compose agent types. In addition, general AI solutions for process automation and computer vision templates can be customized, tuned, and optimized for rapid deployment. Developers can use simple workflows to transform data, train agents, and deploy to get paid. Prepare your data, upload it to buy, sell, or trade in the ocean market. Pre-train and train agents with shared or custom models and systems. Register agents on chain for payments. Deploy and monitor agents with notifications. With funding, intelligent tooling, and compute, you can create today. ASI, let's build the future of AI together.
Yeah, so that's an overview. So there's a couple things going on there. How many people out here have used Poe.com? Anybody know what I'm talking about? Okay, so they're kind of, yeah, one person, thanks. I'll be on my team too. So at any rate, part of that prompt that you saw that was really interesting, there is a user aspect to it where, you can essentially use knowledge graphs in conjunctions with those prompts on the user side, independent of what the developers are seeing, so that we could do things like aggregate and tune other LLMs to enhance them as well, independently, preferably open ones and non-commercial ones, because people often just want to see these systems kind of working to entice them down that path. That's one side. The other side is obviously very focused on AI developers, and we're going to produce another upcoming video pretty soon on what the developer experience looks like more intimately. But in a nutshell, for people who are wondering, it gives you the ability to create a space, get compute, access those templates, whether they're pre-made or they exist within some kind of existing type of reflex, goal, utility, and so on, or so they can be composed more easily for developers. And we'll show an example of what that would look like within like Cursor or JetBrains or something like that, so people can get a clear picture. But that's the general idea of ASI Create. That's it.